If you ask people today who is more delusional in modern dating, men or women, you are guaranteed to start a fight. Let's look at the most obvious answer first. There is a very specific type of male delusion. It usually involves a 70-year-old billionaire on a yacht who genuinely believes the 23-year-old model sitting next to him is in love with his personality and not his bank account. But while that delusion is real, we have to look at the numbers. Only a microscopic fraction of the population belongs to that elite demographic, which makes it a statistically rare problem. There is a much quieter delusion out there, and it affects the average population. Because it is reinforced by nearly every major piece of popular content produced in the last 20 years, it is driving a systemic decline in modern relationships. To understand what's going wrong, we have to look at romance through a slightly colder lens. We need to view dating as an economic system, a sexual marketplace where individuals exchange value. Healthy markets rely on successful transactions. Right now, the dating market is freezing up, and it's happening because the largest single demographic of participants has developed an artificially inflated sense of their own purchasing power. If we want to figure out why so many people are remaining single, despite reporting record-high levels of personal self-worth, treating the modern dating scene as a failing economy is the only way the math starts to make sense. There is a strict rule that governs dating economics, known as assortative mating. Enduring relationships form when two people exchange unequal goods that hold a comparable overall value. This chart shows exactly how that plays out in reality. People strictly date their equals. Someone who is average on the market will pair up with someone else who is average, and eights will date eights. The scales always have to balance. But over the last 2 decades, pop culture injected an artificial subsidy into this market, warping baseline expectations for millions of people. Look at the defining romantic franchises of the modern era. The formula is identical across the board. A completely unassuming, average protagonist puts in no effort, yet magically secures a man in the top 0.00001% of wealth, looks, and power. The protagonist is kept deliberately ordinary, so the consumer can project themselves into the fantasy. Subsequent blockbuster franchises took that exact same formula and ran with it, feeding audiences millions of pages and hours of screen time, built on the premise that ordinary effort entitles you to an extraordinary reward. This fiction eventually spilled off the page and evolved into the modern empowerment culture. It instructs average individuals that they are inherently the prize, and that they deserve the highest-tier options available on the market, regardless of what they bring to the table. 20 solid years of consuming this highly specific cultural diet has rewritten the psychological baselines of the average woman. It manufactured an unprecedented gap between what people expect the market to deliver and what it actually can. To see exactly how this gap functions in reality, let's look at a practical case study. Dr. Orion Terabin, a psychologist who studies these dynamics, details a date he went on with a statistically average woman. After they went out, she texted him a report card. She graded him on 3 specific dimensions: on his intelligence, his physical attractiveness, and his emotional intelligence. According to her calculations, he scored a 6 for intelligence, a 3 for physical attractiveness, and a 0 for emotional intelligence. In her view, his total market value was a 3 out of 10. After delivering that assessment, she then laid out her own personal standard. Despite being an average participant herself, she stated she was strictly holding out for a man who scored an 8 across all 3 of those categories. This is a chart showing standard distribution. The distance between a 3 and an 8 is roughly 4 standard deviations. On a bell curve, that is the literal distance between intellectual disability and profound giftedness. This anecdote captures the modern delusion. It shows an ordinary market participant demanding extraordinary assets, effectively refusing to participate in the actual laws of exchange. When millions of people are fed the same narrative, that an average life earns an extraordinary partner, the individual anecdotes begin to look like a broader trend. People are demanding the moon, but the few who possess the moon rarely hand it over to an average partner. This chart shows exactly what happens when actual market value stays flat while expectations skyrocket. Because those 2 lines never intersect, the average person effectively prices themselves out of the marketplace, leading to gridlock. This gridlock creates an opportunity cost. By chasing a statistical ghost, the wealthy protagonist who will solve all their problems, people discard realistic, healthy relationship opportunities that would have otherwise balanced the scale. There is a compounding penalty to this behavior. The longer an individual holds out for a fantasy that hasn't materialized in 20 years of pop culture, the less time they have to secure a satisfactory relationship in the real world. It's easy to see why this is happening. A grounded, realistic relationship with an equal partner takes work, and it lacks the cinematic drama people have been told to expect. This leaves every market participant facing a choice. We have to ask, is a perfectly decent reality ultimately better than an impossible fantasy? Or is it better to be alone than to settle?